Welcome to season 15 of the Parenting Aces podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Stone, and this week I have a treat. Well, a treat for me and hopefully a treat for you guys too. I've got Madison Harrison and Natalie Suk joining me from Harrison-Suk Recruiting. They are helping high school players find their college tennis fit, and both of these young women are former college players themselves, have an incredible history in tennis, family history, personal history, and know what they're talking about. And so I'm super excited to introduce them to all of you in hopes that you will feel a little bit better about the college recruiting process as it pertains to your family. Before I bring Madison and Natalie on, though, just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, I hope you'll sign up for our free e-newsletter on ParentingAces.com. Follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. Hope you'll follow us in all of those places. And if you are looking for a little extra help in this junior tennis journey, please hit me up. I love doing one-to-one consults with families, and you can look into that, book it, schedule it through our website as well, ParentingAces.com. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with Madison and Natalie. Maddie and Natalie, thank you so much for coming on. I'm super excited to dig into your work and share your experience with the Parenting Aces community.
Thank you so much for having us. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, very happy.
Yeah.
Both of these young women are from tennis families. You've got a lot of history in the sport. Natalie, I'm going to start with you and just ask you to give us a little bit of your tennis story.
So my tennis story is really my whole family played. My dad played, my aunt played, my grandma played, my grandpa played. So everyone played tennis. So it was definitely meant for me. And I grew up in Bradenton, Florida in IMG. That's where I practiced with my dad and was actually Maddie's dad. And yeah, I loved the game. I always thought I was gonna go pro, but then I ended up doing college tennis. I went to Ole Miss, and that was also awesome. Yeah, that was awesome, and I had a great experience there. I met my husband there, so he was on the tennis team. So yeah, that's kind of like my whole tennis story.
Awesome. And just to clarify, you say, my dad played, my aunt played. I mean, they played. They were on the tour.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You're being very
So,
humble with it.
right. That's kind of where I'm going with this. Like, this isn't just your parents played on the neighborhood courts. No, I mean, tennis is truly in the blood of your family, playing on the professional tour. And I connected with you guys for this purpose because I was on a webinar where Natalie, your dad, was the guest speaker
Yeah,
and talking
yeah.
about his tennis career and the work that he does, and his kind of philosophy around introducing you to the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he knows how tough the sport is. And so he was very much about me loving the sport than anything else. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
that was his.
Maddie, I'm going to ask you the same question. You want to give us a little bit of your tennis background?
Yeah, so as you know, originally from Shreveport, Louisiana, my dad ran a tennis club there. He had played college tennis and professional afterwards, and honestly, my path is super similar to his. Yeah, at a young age, we moved to Bradenton, Florida as well, and Natalie and I actually lived on the same street there. She was my first friend whenever we moved to Florida, and we were in the same tennis group, so we grew up playing together every day at IMG, and I got really lucky because in the summers, my parents let me go with her family over to Czech Republic, where she's originally from too. And yeah, I got to spend the summers training there with her and her family. And then, yeah, also took the college tennis path. I kind of always knew that's what I wanted to do because I saw my brothers go through the pro tennis path. And I just know how hard it is and how many things need to be in place for that to happen. So I always envisioned playing professional tennis after college, but first knew I wanted to go to college. My mom's a teacher. I wanted to get an education and a degree as well. Um, so yeah, I ended up going to University of Kansas for my first year. And then for few reasons. I wanted to get back in the South. I did not handle cold weather very well. So ended up transferring, largely chose Mississippi State because of Natalie, actually, because she was at Ole Miss and it was an easy drive. So throughout our college years, we got to go visit each other a lot. Yeah, and so then I ended up graduating from Mississippi State. Loved it there. Can't say enough good things about just my experience with college tennis in general and my passion for it because that's where, I mean, not only did my tennis game develop, but I feel like I grew really. You're going from being a kid to an adult those years, and I just had awesome guidance. Some of my best friends to this day were my teammates. I spent the last week with one of my teammates from Greece. So yeah, those are still some of my best friends. And yeah, afterwards, I wanted to keep playing, but that didn't work out. I stayed injured. I only got to play a few pro tournaments, and then I decided I'm just passionate about the sport in any capacity, really. So I went straight into coaching. And last year, Natalie and I had always talked about doing our recruiting agency. And last year, we decided to go full time into it. So that's what we've been doing full time since the last year now.
I think it's so cool that both of you had such positive experiences playing college tennis
Yeah.
and that you bring that to the table when you're meeting with prospective student athletes who are considering playing college tennis. I mean, it's kind of similar to my work in that I was a tennis parent. Now I'm working with tennis parents. You guys were college tennis players. Now you're working with prospective college tennis players. I think it really helps that you have that perspective and that experience so that you can give a very honest and relatively recent accounting of what college tennis involves.
Yeah, that's why we started it because we both had such a good experience and it's so important. We were in the position we were 17-year-old girls and so we know it's hard, you go from home and you have the coach and the team and the whole environment is different. So that's really kind of why we started because I know we obviously know the coaches and we know the pairing of the environment with the player and I know for both of us it's so important for the kids to be happy and not just send the kid somewhere where the kid is going to be unhappy. That's the last thing we want to do.
Yeah, and we know also like it doesn't come without its hurdles too. And college tennis, of course, has obstacles going from being an individual sport to suddenly you're on a team. And that's something that we're happy to more so mentor kids and their parents on how to help navigate those challenges that come up. And yeah, I mean, we've been very fortunate and we've built really good relationships with so many of the people we've worked with. And yeah, so we've helped navigate a lot of those things too and help people not only get through it, but just have a perspective on how something can actually be helping them grow. Like, how do these challenges relate to life after college when you're in the workforce? And yeah, all of those things as well.
Yeah, we've been
And I
very
think
fortunate.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but another piece that you bring to this, Maddie, is the fact that you did transfer. And I talk to families a lot about this whole process as well. And, everybody looks at choosing your college as this massive decision and you don't want to mess it up. And I try to bring into the conversation the fact that transferring is possible and it's really not that difficult to transfer. To expect a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old to make this huge decision and get it right the first time is a big ask, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's where I feel really lucky that my dad helped me through that bit of it a lot because he had transferred. He had played 2 years at Ole Miss, and then sorry to say, he transferred. But he did love Ole Miss too. But he transferred to Oklahoma State. That's where he met my mom. So yeah, if he never transferred, I wouldn't exist.
Right?
But yeah, whenever that time came and I called my parents, he really helped comfort me in that there's nothing wrong with transferring. And I'm really happy I did because I had some really great experiences at Kansas that were really unique and that I wouldn't have had if I had only gone to Mississippi State. So yeah, looking back, I'm actually really happy to say I got the experience at two different schools.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think it's valuable. Natalie, what are some of the challenges that you faced when you were going through your recruiting process that you see as common challenges that a lot of other kids are going through? And how do you use those challenges that you face to help guide these kids now that are going through it?
Since I have an international background, I think it's really important for especially international kids to find a good environment that they will like. And I think I found that because the team was both American and international, and I can consider myself both. And so I do think that's something that I think is really important for kids.
And when you were recruiting, I mean, did you find it difficult that you had kind of this mixed background, or did you find it opened a lot more doors for you?
That's a good question. I I really just went with my gut where I liked it. It was really interesting, yeah. I did well my senior year, so I had a lot of doors open for me. And the reason I actually went to Ole Miss was because of Maddie's dad, because he's the one who connected me with the coach. And I loved it the second I got there, and I just kind of chose it based on that.
We actually visited Ole Miss
And we
together as
visited
well.
together.
We took a couple recruiting trips together. Now it's a lot more common that we see a lot more parents going on the
Yeah,
recruiting
yeah,
trips
that's
with
true.
their children, and sometimes even their coaches are
Really?
joining.
Yeah,
Super common.
way more than when we were in.
Yeah, and I mean, I did all of my visits either alone or with Natalie.
Yeah,
So
me
we
too.
we
Me
went to
too.
Mizzou together and Ole Miss together.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. And why do you think it is that more parents and coaches are going on these trips?
You know, that's actually also a really good question. I feel like parents are just way more involved now
Way more
too.
involved. Yeah.
Do you find that the coaches, the college coaches, are responding positively to having the parents around? Or, I mean, because when I've had conversations with college coaches, you know, the big message is let the kids drive the process. Parents, you need to take a step back. This is important for your child to go through this experience. We want to get to know the child. Yes, we'll talk to you parents at some point, but this is about your child coming and being part of our culture. So we need to get to know them.
Mm. I feel like it started almost being like an arms race of like, oh, we can get your parent to come too. And then other schools kind of had to keep up. And now that's the common thing, even if coaches might prefer it just to be the kid. I feel like a lot of the time, if the players and the parents want the parent there too, they're going to try to do it just to
Yeah.
make them happy.
Yeah.
Very interesting. That is a big shift, and one I wasn't aware that was going on. So this is informative for me as well. And it'll be interesting. Now I know to ask the college coaches that I get on the podcast, like, what's your stance on this? But
Yeah. I've actually never thought about like why that happened. I don't know exactly when the shift happened because again, we were both in coaching elite juniors for a while, but they weren't all right at the college age. And so, yeah, I don't really know when that shift happened, but now that we're back in it, you really see that a lot now.
It's more common.
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting. So, what are some of the things that you wish you had known as a recruit that you want to make sure these kids going through college recruiting now are aware of?
Mm-hmm. One thing I think off the top of my head is it's a two-way street. I feel a lot of the time the players and the parents want to try to make the kid look as best as possible to every single coach. And we're always like, but you want to ask them questions too. You want to
Yeah.
make sure that this is the right fit for you. Make sure you're going to gel with the coach. Ask about the culture of the team, whatever they might be looking for academically. Like, make sure that you're getting what you want out of that place and you're not just trying to sell yourself all the time and focusing only on that.
Yeah. And to do the right pairing, I think I got really lucky with my college if I look back at it because I just trusted my gut, but then the coach was amazing, the environment was amazing, and I think I got a little bit lucky with it. And now that I see more into it, I would look for it even more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I tell these families is, look, the college coaches, this is a sales job, right? They're trying to sell you on their program when you're coming for those early visits. Once you get into the process a little more heavily, it becomes less about that and more about finding the right fit, of course. But at the beginning, the coaches are casting a wide net. So the student athletes need to cast a wide net as well. They need to talk to as many schools as they can and get an understanding of the differences between, a small town college versus a college in a large city, one with a big campus versus one that's more urban, one that's very sports focused versus maybe a smaller liberal arts program. Understanding the differences between the Division 1, 2, 3, NAIA, junior college. I mean, understanding all of this and really giving yourself the best chance to find the best fit for yourself, not necessarily the right fit, but the best fit in, at the stage that you're in. And I think it's really easy to kind of get sucked in when you go visit these campuses and you go on these tours and they're telling you about all the great things about their school. They're trying to sell you on their program. So I think you guys are absolutely right. You've got to ask the questions and understand that as a student athlete, you need to not be just selling yourself to the coach, but you want the coach to sell themselves to you as well so that you find that right fit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, completely.
And so when you guys are working with prospective student athletes, walk me through the process of what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You want to?
Yeah. So typically we try to figure out where they're already at, if they've already had any interaction with college coaches or not, and we really try to take it from whatever point they're at and meet them there. And then we are really, really hands-on with the whole process because we've been in the college world for so many years. We know a ton of coaches. I also coached Division I for 2 seasons, on the West Coast at Santa Clara University. So yeah, I know the process from the inside out, and yeah, we really build their recruiting resume, put it together. We help them build tournament schedules if they need to, just to make sure they're doing all the right things, not only to improve, but to also show coaches they're actively competing and everything. And so yeah, once we do that, we help them with their recruiting video, and then we're reaching out to the coaches and talking to them for the student athlete. And then once things are aligned with the coach and the player, they get in touch with each other and they take it from there, really.
So you're kind of the matchmaker, so to speak.
We are, and we really want the parents and the kids to feel like, that they feel comfortable because especially the parents that we talk to, they're a little bit nervous about the process. So we're really here to answer the questions and for them to be, happy and not make it less stressful for them.
Yeah, one of the first things we also do is we ask them a bunch of questions and try to figure out what they want. Budget is of course a factor. Some people need scholarships, some don't. And so, yeah, we try to figure out as much as we can about what they want. And then we make a list of a ton of colleges that are going to be the right fit. We call, we walk them through that whole thing. And yeah, we just go from there.
What age do you recommend that people start this process?
So we try to say it's not ever too late because sometimes we have had people in their senior year come to us and need help. And options might be more limited, but it's definitely possible to find a good fit then still. But the end of sophomore year is a good time to start thinking about it, just because once a student athlete hits junior year of high school, they're allowed to have those conversations with coaches. So that's a good time to like really start with it. But by the end of sophomore year, summertime, you can start thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right. And in your opinion, what is the best first step that a prospective student athlete should be taking for college recruiting?
I guess get registered get your registration with the NCAA through the NCAA portal, and then to see your classes so that you're eligible. Put your transcript. I would say that's the first important step.
And then tennis wise, make sure you're competing. making sure you're just playing a ton of matches and in tournaments. Of course, you need training blocks, but make sure you're competing a lot.
There's this misconception out there that when a college coach is coming to watch a prospective student athlete play, that they're looking at like whether the kid wins or loses the match. They're looking at, are their strokes beautiful? All of these little technical things. But in my conversations with college coaches, and I'm curious to hear your take on this, the coaches tell me that's not at all what we're looking at when we're out at tournaments watching these kids. We're looking at attitude. We're looking at, is there joy in competition? Do they want to be out there? Do they have a fighting spirit? Do they comport themselves in a way that would make me proud to be their coach and that would reflect accurately the culture of our team? Are these similar to things that you hear, or are you hearing something different? And if so, can you share that with us?
Yeah, I think both of us have really seen the body language. I think parents and kids don't think it's as serious, but for coaches, the body language, since you're representing the school, is the most important. And obviously competing and winning, but the body language.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I've been at tournaments. I was at hard courts in San Diego last summer, and I was sitting with a college coach. I don't want to say who, but I was sitting with a college coach, and they said this player just lost the match, but I would take them over the person that won just because of their demeanor on the court. So yeah, it wasn't just about winning and losing. It's also about, are they gonna be fun to coach? Are they gonna gel with the team and help build the culture? And do they embody the characteristics that, yeah, they want representing their school?
Yeah, for sure. In the last few years, name, image, likeness has become a factor in recruiting, and it's not as huge in tennis as in some of the other sports. But can you talk a little bit about NIL and how that has changed the recruiting process and what families need to understand about NIL as it relates to college tennis?
Yeah, I mean, we really haven't had to deal with it as much in what we're doing on a day to day.
Hmm.
It of course is going to benefit the larger programs more, and it's going to hurt the smaller programs. You've already seen that happening. So many more tennis programs getting cut. Tennis has the highest cost per student athlete of any of the sports, and so that's what it really leads to, unfortunately. So, yeah, it helps the big schools, hurts the little ones, and we haven't dealt with it as
Yeah,
much,
yeah,
really.
yeah.
Are y'all working at all with any of the NIL agencies, or are you aware of kind of this work going on? And when a student athlete comes to you for help with recruiting, I'm guessing they're asking about NIL opportunities, maybe not.
Yeah, I think it depends on the level of the player. We've definitely worked a little bit with some who have been involved in that, but not as commonly. Again, it's really relevant at the top programs, and unless we're working with the players that are at the top, which, a lot of the time they don't need as much help with recruiting because again, they're the top players, so all the coaches know who they are. They're watching them playing the junior grand slams. So they don't need as much help from us and guidance.
Hmm.
We chat to them, we've had conversations, but we haven't done as much hands-on work with that.
Yeah. And I say this all the time. If your kid is top 5 in the recruiting class, coaches are coming after them. If they're anywhere outside of that, the likelihood is the player is going to have to market themselves to the college programs. And especially, the higher level college programs, they may get interest from schools that they may not be interested in. But if they want to get on the radar of some of these bigger programs, you as a player, you have to do the work.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. And that's where we come into play. But yeah, again, with NIL, we haven't had players that have really
Yeah.
been dealing with it as much, but
It's the top of the
as of now, at
top.
least, as of now.
It's
Yeah.
really the top of the top. I think
Yeah.
I think also people think, oh, so many people get NIL and it's so common in tennis. You have to be so good and those people don't usually need us. Yeah.
Right. Right. So let's talk about the recruiting video for a minute. There are a lot of misconceptions about what that needs to contain, what it needs to look like, what the production quality needs to be. What are some of the guidelines that you guys give to families that you work with?
Yeah, so we typically send them instructions actually on like where to film, like where if it's someone standing, we tell them try to have a tripod so it's at least still,
Yeah.
and get different angles. You know, it doesn't need to be insanely long. You don't need to always have like a whole match, but just some rallies middle, some rallies cross each way. Show all your shots, volleys, overhead serves and returns, and then some points, serve points and return points. You don't want it to be shaky, you don't want it to be blurry, and try to do landscape, not portrait.
Okay. And then what about in terms of putting music, um, flashy, effects and things like that? I mean,
Yeah, you don't need all of the music and
Yeah.
flashy effects or
Yeah.
anything. It just needs to be straightforward. They want to see, if you're putting points in there, definitely don't show anything that you're throwing your racket. And
Yeah.
as Nat mentioned, the body language, like
Yeah.
that's something that they're looking for in the recruiting video as well. Like it's always great if you're like pumping yourself up a little bit and just yeah, showing that you're intense and you're into it and that you truly enjoy practicing. Um, yeah, hopefully that's the case at least. So yeah, it doesn't have to
and
have all the fancy extras though.
correct me if I'm wrong, but coaches want to see points that you win, but they also want to see points that you've lost.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
think the consistency of the video, not just 1 point cuts of the good ones. Yeah.
Hmm. Totally.
So, like, film a whole game or film a series
Mhm.
of games and don't just edit out the points that you've
Yeah.
won.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like one serve game, one return game, maybe two, depending how long they are. Yeah.
Okay. And then what about that first outreach to the college coaches? Typically, it's either in the form of a text message or an email where the player is introducing him or herself to the college coach. What are some guidelines that you can share with our audience about what that communication should look like?
Yeah, that's a lot of what we help players with, to be honest. So we a lot of the time are like putting that together. Recent results, your top wins, things like that should be in there. Because again, it's like you said, you're trying to sell yourself to the coaches. So you do want to like it sounds weird to brag about yourself sometimes, but a little bit like brag about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how important these days is the academic piece of recruiting?
It really depends on what school you want to go to. Every school is different. They have different guidelines. You we also found out now with working how difficult it is to get in some of the schools. I
Hmm.
went to Ole Miss, so it wasn't the
Mississippi State wasn't the most difficult either academically,
yeah,
but
so it really depends on the school.
yeah, yeah. Like even with the Ivies, we've recently spoken to a lot of the Ivy coaches, and they have different guidelines among them. Some
Mhm.
really, really difficult, some not as. I mean, still difficult, of course. It's an Ivy, but even they vary.
There's this kind of misconception, I think, out there that if you're good enough as a tennis player, the academics don't matter. The coach will get you in regardless. That has been the case in the past. Are you seeing that is the case now? And I mean, Maddie, you were at Santa Clara. That's where Morgan went his freshman year. And I remember even after he got recruited, like we were on pins and needles waiting for that academic acceptance to go through.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the case still a lot of the time. I think there's some programs that are able to maybe help the player if the player is like top. And again, if it's like a really big program, they can help pull a player through. But a lot of what we're seeing, like a player still needs to have their standardized test scores be strong. And GPA does matter. And yeah, so academics, I would say even in high school do matter.
Yeah.
And something else we've
Okay.
told players is like you don't want to limit your options by not trying in school, thinking, oh, it's going to be fine. because that could come to hurt you in the end, if you end up wanting to go to a school that has stronger requirements and then you've limited yourself because you didn't take the academic serious enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, we got some poor advice early on in Morgan's recruiting years, about exactly that. Like, school doesn't matter. If you're good enough, they'll get you in. That's not always the case.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important for especially these kids just starting in high school to understand that coaches really want well-rounded humans on their teams. Yes, they want outstanding tennis players, but they don't want to have to worry if you're going to be able to maintain a GPA to stay eligible to play for them. They don't want that on their minds. They want to know that you're coming in and can handle the academic pressure of the school. And yes, there will be support and all of that available, but I think it's very helpful to be able to tell a coach, oh, academically, I'm going to be fine. You're not going to have to worry about me.
Hmm. No, absolutely.
What are y'all seeing with all of these NCAA changes in terms of scholarships available, roster spots available, and how is that impacting the recruiting process from where you sit?
Hmm. So yeah, now that roster spots are a bit more limited, that's something that has to be considered more early on.
Mhm.
Um, Again, sometimes people's budgets are different, and if a player is looking to walk on, it's not as easy for a school to just accept a walk on
Yeah, yeah.
now. And even if they would want the player to be on the team, now that's a bit more limited. So yeah, it does lead to saying like, okay, you do want to start early on reaching out to coaches, like into sophomore, early junior year. So that way that you're on the coach's radar and that it's not too late that they haven't filled up the spots on their team, and then they say, "Oh, we would want you, but we don't have a spot anymore," because we have seen that happen.
They're a lot more selective coaches
Yeah.
now. They have to be.
Yeah.
Right, right. I mean, they're restricted in how many players they can have, and again, it's like you were saying before, it's changing the availability for these prospective student athletes who want a spot on a college team. That a lot of these smaller programs just can't keep up, and they're having to disband their college tennis programs. So it's really important to understand the environment of college tennis, what the current rules are with the NCAA. And granted, those rules change pretty often, but as a family going through the process of recruiting, you've got to familiarize yourself with the current environment. The NCAA Eligibility Center is a great resource, and I always tell families, you need to make friends with the people there because they can answer so many questions for you and make sure that you understand exactly what you need to maintain that eligibility and to be marketable to these programs.
Yeah, certainly.
So, if people want to utilize your services, how do they find you? How do they sign up with you? What's the process?
Mhm. So we have a website. It's hscollegeplacement.com. And then we're on Instagram, HS College Placement. You're gonna hear that a lot. And
Yeah.
we have our email is the best place to reach out to us, hscollegeplacement@gmail.com.
And we'll have all those links in the show notes on parentingaces.com or wherever you're consuming this podcast. So we want to make sure you have available or the ability to reach Maddie and Natalie. And so when somebody contacts you and they sign on the dotted line, yes, we want to utilize your services. What is step one for you guys?
Yeah, so we have an intro call. We want to get comfortable with each other. We don't expect us to have one call with the family and them to be like, yeah, we're ready. Sometimes we have multiple calls with parents before we even get to that point because, again, it is an important decision and we want them to really feel comfortable with us, because we see it as a partnership. Like we want to be on your team. We want to be advocating for the player on your behalf.
Mhm.
So once we do get to that point, again, we try to figure out everything that the player wants in a school and what their, I guess, abilities are. Again, budget and tennis wise and all of that. And we We formulate realistic options for them, and we really walk through that together. And then, yeah, it's different for every player. Sometimes we might have to go through a tournament schedule, help them with that, figure out what they need to be doing to make sure that they're on the right track so that when we speak to coaches on their behalf, we can say, this is where the player is at right now. This is what they're working on. This is their plan going forward.
Yeah,
How important is ranking and UTR rating in all of this?
UTR is important.
Yeah.
The coaches need them to see that they're playing tournaments, that they're playing matches, that they're winning. It's hard if you have a player that doesn't have a UTR ranking because how the coach can see how they play in the video, but they need some sort of ranking.
Yeah, it's not everything, but it matters to a degree. We say that because we've encountered some players who are pretty good players, but they just don't really play tournaments, and that's where we've had to step in and help them build a tournament schedule and make sure like if you don't have that, if you're not competing, then the coaches won't take you seriously in the recruitment process. So you do kind of need to show that you're out there playing.
I know a lot of families, will say, well, my kid's UTR is X, the school they really want to go to, the range that they're recruiting is much higher, but is it still worth my child trying to pursue this coach and this program? I mean, from where I sit, I always tell them it never hurts to reach out and let the coach tell you, if you're a candidate for their program. But it's become almost this obsession with UTR and people thinking, oh my gosh, if my UTR is not within this range, I'm never going to get recruited. That's not necessarily true, right?
Right. I mean, we do think there's options for everyone, but it's a fine line because you do have to be realistic to some degree. If you're super far off the range of anyone on the lineup of a school you want to go to, then realistically you're probably just not going to be there unless you go to a different school first, you really improve yourself, and then you can transfer to that school. Like that's always an option too. We've seen it happen. Um, but yeah, you don't need to obsess over it. You just want to make sure you're competing and doing your best because that's how, you're going to get to where you want to go anyways. It's not really fun for a kid to be at the bottom of the totem pole significantly behind anyone else on their team either because, then they're going to feel that. So that's why we really try to be realistic upfront with families and say, this is where we think your kid is really going to thrive and be happy.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's the main thing really, instead of just like the big flashy name and going to school just because of that. But what I've seen, not only in what we're doing, but whenever we've been coaching, is sometimes when the parents are obsessing over the UTR, the player feels that and it actually
Yeah.
makes them more nervous when they play and it hinders their progress. So try to at least say, even if you're stressing it, don't let the player feel it. Just let them, encourage them to do their very best and play hard and yeah, let the improvement happen naturally.
I love it. Ladies, it has been a pleasure speaking with you. Is there anything else you want to share with the Parenting Aces audience before I let you go?
Just, we're really passionate about this. We love what we do. Again, we've built some incredible relationships that have turned into not only helping with the recruiting process, but longer term mentorships and friendships. And yeah, we would be happy to talk to you.
Yeah, for sure. We love what we do, and since we've been throughout the whole process, we've talked to so many parents, and really a great it's been great for us because I didn't think that the feedback was going to be so good from the
Yeah.
parents and from the coaches because there's a lot of agencies out there that really just do it, just to make money or it's business people, and so the feedback has been really rewarding. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. And I'm excited to know that you guys are doing this work now and to stay in touch. And, um, maybe we can refer some clients back and forth. I think it would be great. And I love the fact that you guys both played college tennis, you come from this tennis world, you grew up in it, you know the sport so intimately, and you still have this passion for giving back. And that's a true testament to you guys and to your family. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having
Yeah,
us.
thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And to my audience, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on Parenting Aces.